Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And I'm Morgan.
And today we're talking about
What's inside. I think we should, I don't know about this. No. We need to switch back.
Already?
Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Whew. All right, guys. We are back to our normal selves. We just, we had to try it, but a few seconds was a few too long, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, guys, we are here to talk about the brand new release, as we said. It's What's Inside, currently available on Netflix. And we had, well, not you and I, but I think Robert and I had done a trailer reaction to this movie.
Oh, yeah,
and we were, we were pretty excited about it. It looked like an interesting idea, and so I convinced you. I was like, "Hey, we should watch this." Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I'm curious to know your thoughts, but I really enjoyed this, and I'll expand on that in a little bit. But yeah, my thoughts are I enjoyed this one.
Oh, I definitely liked it. I usually know where things are going. Like, I'm very constantly puzzling a movie and figuring out what's going on. I really had no idea where this was going, and by the end, I felt stupid. I'm not gonna lie, but it was so good. It was so good. It's a fun ride.
Yeah, it was a bit of a brain bender at times, but what was really great about it is the presentation of the film.
Yes.
Aided in tracking everything.
Yes.
Because they made a lot of really cool, really interesting, and really helpful choices along the way, which we'll get into as we dive deeper into the review. But yeah, overall thoughts are this was a really well done movie, and I think the acting was good enough. You know, like it wasn't necessarily Oscar level, but I liked how everyone portrayed, because everyone had to portray kind of a few different versions and stuff. And
I don't know that translated as well.
Maybe not.
But it was. I was gonna say that it's a very artistic film, and I feel like that can be a scary thing to say. Like to say, "Oh, it's artistic." Like, I'm probably not gonna like if you said that to me, I'd be like,
Yeah.
But honestly, it's artistic in the best way.
Yeah.
Like it really employs a lot of fresh views, things that we haven't seen done before, things that I don't really want to see done a whole lot more, just because it's kind of precious to.
It's very stylistic.
Yes,
and it can become unoriginal really quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to be the trailblazer, the first one to do, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah, and we'll get into the things that they did, but yeah, I mean, the story of it is a group of
college friends.
Yeah, college friends that have not been in contact for various reasons over the last number of years. I'm not sure how many years.
It was 8 or
10,
9.
Something like that.
It's 8 or 9.
It's been long enough where, you know, they all, when they're called back for one of their friends' wedding, like there's still some you know, tumult in the air between different people. You know, there's stuff hanging, you know, clouds hanging over the group as far
I feel
as
that's relatable though. Like,
no, it is, yeah.
For like a group that's like, they were a tight group at one point, and now, you know, over
something happened,
over
and then
5
they
years,
kind of,
and they went their own ways. And so to say, you know, a lot of times when friends are really close like that, you can kind of pick up where you left off, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes not so much.
Right.
So it very much like pokes at that, and you know, it's good. It's very realistic. It's very, in that respect.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, the group shows up, and when they do, one of them shows up, the one that you know, none of them really knew where this guy was going to go after
He's
they
the
all
weird
went separate
one.
ways. Yeah, he's kind of the weird one of the group. And when he shows up with a briefcase, and they decide to sit down to all play a game together when they're drinking. And he says, "Hey, I've got a game for us." And basically, he pulls out this machine that's kind of cool, right? I don't know what exactly they used. It looked like it might have been a switcher. Like for people working online and stuff, switching to different things. I forgot. I'm just drawing a blank on what it's actually called. But nonetheless, it has bunch of different switches and knobs and things like that. And he's like, okay, so everyone has to strap up these nodes to their temples. And he's like, okay, and here we go. He doesn't really explain what's going to happen, but he goes, 3, 2, 1, and he switches it on, and everyone suddenly switches, like their minds move into one of the other people in the group. And it's kind of random. Well, they think it's random, but it in actuality, it's controlled by the guy that brought the game. And so it's kind of cool, right? They all switch, and they're all freaked out at first. And they switch back, and then the guy kind of explains why it's fun to do, and they can make a game out of it. And so they all agree to do it on a longer basis. And so that first time when they do it on round 1, they all freaking some people take advantage of the situation of not being in their own body, and there's some duplicitous people that aren't even straight about who they are.
This
kind
is
of
the
thing.
game. The game was that they
right.
switched bodies, and then everybody had taken a Polaroid before they switched, and then you write your name on the Polaroid. And so the game is that you have to guess who's in whose body.
Right. Thank you. Key point to miss.
Yeah. And so we, as they say, oh, you're this person, oh, you're that person, then they get labeled with this picture that should be their normal body, and that's a really key point. Yeah.
And then there's another round, and things get really serious really quickly when there's an incident that occurs.
Yes.
And I don't want to spoil what that incident is, but it definitely throws the movie into high gear. It's like the turning point about halfway through the movie. And then it's like, oh, this is a whole new situation that, I was having fun with the first one, and I thought it was going to be a pretty straightforward, just having fun figuring it out. Right?
I wasn't thinking much about it at all.
Yeah.
Until
this happened.
And then all of a sudden my puzzle brain's like, well, how are we going to fix this, and how are we going to do that, and how's this going to work, and how's that, and how does this affect this, and how are we going to, what's going to happen, and and then it's
a fun ride.
Luck.
Yeah, it's a fun ride from there, yes. And so I don't want to say much more than that regarding the story, outside of the fact that it was really entertaining to see play out.
Yes.
And I didn't feel the runtime at all. I everything got its due, and it was interesting the whole way. I was on board.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh man, because I had to see how it was going to play out,
yes.
right? I was like,
yes.
I got to see where this goes, and a really, horror movies don't always do that nowadays. No. And again, I want to circle back to the presentation, right? This is I don't know that you'd call this production or post-production or what, maybe even pre-production if all this was planned, but they do so many interesting things from, there's a lot of split screen use, and what they'll do is when the characters are in different bodies, they'll show, if two characters are talking to each other, they'll have that camera angle, and then the camera will shift, and it'll be the same angle, but the lighting will go red, and it'll show the actual people that are in the bodies.
Well, the reason they did that was because they're toward the beginning, when they're sitting down to eat together, the one girl, she shows her art, and she's saying, look, this is the drawing, and you look at it like this, and it's got this picture. But if you look at it differently, you see different images. So it's one image, but then if you have a red frame on it, then you see this one image, and when you it was a different color that she put over it, green or something, and then you saw a completely different image. So it was just this really cool blend, and so they use that. That's why I say it's artistic. They use it later to show who's talking to whom.
Right.
So if we're having a conversation but we're actually other people, you'd see us in a split screen talking to each other, but then you could have the red filter come over and you'd see the actual people talking to. It's really cool.
It's really
it's
cool.
a very cool effect.
They show you right at the start of this movie. You can watch the first 5 minutes and know if you're going to be into the presentation or not. I very much was, because we're introduced to this bickering couple right out of the gate.
Right.
And they do all this interesting stuff. They do the split screen and they're arguing like really aggressively, and like it's cool because I'm like, what are we doing here? And then it cuts off like in the middle of their argument and it just goes to, you know, the title screen and whatever, but it's just really well presented. Again, I know I keep saying that, but it's so interesting, and it's hard to describe without kind of ruining the devices that they use. But
Right.
I loved
really
what they
different,
did.
Though. Yeah, I appreciate the fresh idea. And usually,
I was worried that you
usually when
wouldn't like it.
I know, and
because it's
usually
kind
when
of
I say,
gimmicky.
I appreciate the fresh idea. Usually when I'm saying that, I'm saying I'm gonna give you credit for doing something new because I need new.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of the stagnation that's going on that I crave new. So if you do something new and make an attempt to try something, I will give you points. Brownie points for trying.
Especially if you do it well.
But this is not brownie points. This is really good. This is it's new. It's angles you haven't seen. It's an idea that's fresh. There's so many things about it that's just, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Can I say that some more? It's so fun.
Yeah, before we watched it, I saw people saying that it's Netflix's Talk to Me for this year, and you and I both really liked Talk to Me, and it is like a gimmicky group horror movie. Like I get it. It's more confined, right? Because they don't leave this house.
I was gonna say it's very different. I wouldn't compare the two. I
wouldn't.
But it's.
I mean, I can see how you would. It's a group of friends getting together and doing some kind of gimmick. You know what I mean? Like the hand versus the machine. You know, it's very, very similar in that way. But yeah, the way everything plays out very differently. Of course. But that's the gimmick, right? Because otherwise, it's a slasher, it's a creature movie, it's a torture porn. This is gimmick horror. You know, the friendship game, the elevator game. You know, all of that is Smile. I think is also gimmick horror. You know what I mean? By the way, check out our Smile 2 review if you haven't seen it yet. I meant to talk to you about Smile 2 and we didn't yet. We got sidetracked by Danny Go. We'll talk about it though. Well, it's not like they're going to watch the review and get it spoiled. But yeah, let's move on to, I mean, the production, obviously there was, what they had to do was the cinematography had to be planned out in order for them to utilize it in the way that they did with the split screen and the cool angles that they did, especially during that one moment. It was presented in an interesting way, of course. So the cinematography definitely played to the strength of the film. I also felt that the sound design and the score was good. Like it wasn't super standout to me, but what did you think of the actual filmmaking?
I want to know how you felt about set design.
I thought it was set design / production design. I thought it was really good. Like I enjoyed the location. I enjoy people that utilize like as many parts of the location as they can. And I don't know. I didn't have an issue. Was that an issue that you had?
It was.
Okay. What was wrong with it?
Whereas I can appreciate it to an extent with a movie that's so full, this movie is very full.
True.
As basic and simple as it is, it's big. And I get it. They say several times, so it's not like unknown, that the house that they're staying at, it's the house of one of the group members. It's his mom's house, and she's an art weirdo. Not my words. And so it's quirky. It's a quirky house. But honestly, there were parts that it kind of took me out of it because it was a little much.
Okay.
I just felt that way. Maybe because I'm not high class enough to know about artsy houses, but it was a little much. I think they could have toned it down a little. And I don't think it would have affected things as much. There were certain things like the mirror room, that was important. We won't talk about it, but that was important to it was a plot device, and I understand that, but they could have done that without. There were just some elements. I understand that the structure outside, like there's certain things that I'm like, okay, we could have had those things without like all of the everything. Like the hallway was too much. It was just
All right.
didn't feel like an actual house.
Fair enough. I mean, if that's your criticism, then you know a lot of other stuff was done well.
The
You know what I mean?
saddest criticism
No, I mean
ever.
it's
Yeah,
you're trying to you're finding something, but that's fine. I think honestly, I think that just says how good everything else was.
Yeah,
that you're not
absolutely.
picking out anything else, but something that other people might be like, nah, like that's the way I'm like, nah, I didn't pick that out or whatever, and that's fine. Everyone experiences film in a different way. Maybe you guys will agree with her, but either way, it seems like we agree that this movie is worth your time to watch, right?
Definitely.
So yeah, I don't want to say much more than that. I think it's worth experiencing on your own. Have fun with the clue nature of the film at a certain point. I mean, that's not to say, I don't want you to think that I'm spoiling anything by saying that, because it's not exactly like Clue, you know what I mean? But it's a mystery that kind of needs to be figured out, after a fashion.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out who is who and what's going on. So,
What's the
yeah,
motivations
in
and
a,
all that stuff.
In a fair amount, yeah.
So,
we
yeah.
delved... We would definitely like to know what you guys think in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell us,
Especially if you've seen it already.
what you feel like. Yeah, how you feel it went down. Don't do spoilers though. If you can avoid it, don't spoil it. Just because it's so fun.
It is.
So
it's a good first time watch for people.
Yes,
it's one of those
yes.
kinds of movies.
I think it'd be fun on a rewatch too, because
Probably.
knowing what you know,
You've tried
you'd
to
be
track
able to
it more,
pick
yeah.
up nuances and just like it. I feel like there's a rewatchability. Like some movies, like once you know it, you're like, oh. But I think that there's probably little Easter eggs in there that once you know, you can go back through and find. Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
I'd be interested in watching it again.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. So, yeah, guys, that's going to do it. Go ahead and check out It's What's Inside on Netflix. I think both of us agree that it's very much worth your time, especially if you're already subscribed to Netflix. Give it a look, and either you'll come away with it liking it like we did or not, but at the very least you'll see something new in the horror space. So that's always fun and worth a look. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time though, I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Morgan.
And remember,
Stay scared.